Hey, this is Sergeant Pham. Long time ago. Right now, I have an opinion I just want to spread into the void of cyberspace. So the U.S. is failing. A lot of people know that the U.S. is the most powerful empire in the world. Yes, but they cannot calculate the vector. Is it going down, going up? since 19 since 1776, it have been going up. Right now, 2025, uh, the slope is more like a free fall. So it's pretty concerning. There's a lot of people with an opinion. I had an opinion. I don't really talk about it until 2013 when my own boss in the U.S. government accused me of being a Chinese spy. Normally, you can make any accusation you want, but you have to be able to back it up. And then to be able to destroy someone's life, you have to go through a proper process called due process. None of this will follow. So I started raising the issues higher and higher. I understand that government doesn't work the way most small organizations work. It, by that, I mean they don't work. So I documented the issue by calling 911 or actually walking to the police station, making a police report to formalize my complaint that, hey, there are people that have died here where I work that people died. Patrick Air Force Base. Every year, someone killed themselves, and I understand why. The stress is only part of it. The bullying and the lack of resources to fix it or deal with it. When someone is causing harm to people in your community, you call 911. They send someone to come and stop the harmful process. But when I was in the military, I found out that the tool is broken, and I began to voice that for myself. But then, as I study the law and the issues, I found out this is much bigger than just me. This is national issues. It's global issues where some people can harm you, and there's no one you can call. So I started using strong words like, "Hey, if the court doesn't deal with the injustice, then I would deal with the injustice, and you can't complain about my method because you have the opportunity to fix this. You were assigned a job to deal with injustice, and you neglect to do your job. Fraud, negligence, and in my case, and the case of the people that die, it's called homicidal negligence. When you are refusing to do your job, and that inaction causes people to die. Now, if you understand that concept and you see that the people in Ukraine are dying by the millions, people in the Middle East, people in Asia. So if you attribute all of this under that same legal cause, the people who are assigned to control the U.S. government who refuse or neglect to perform the duty that resulted in all this death from the Vietnam War to today, they are essentially guilty of committing the genocide or the massive killing, or at the very least, homicidal negligence. Now, in 2025, we have the Epstein file that is completely redacted. So, a lot of people who have seen this for the first time don't really understand the process, and they just this is the first time and they are baffled. Well, I have looked at federal contracts where they black out the signature of who signed the uh, the contract. That's sort of illegal because the purpose to review contract is to see who authorized something. And as a public official, you don't have the anonymous signature. That doesn't work like that for a public office. I work in a top secret and I had to redact things before. Not redact things because I don't deal with public, but we deal with top secrets and we have to declassify them. To declassify things is kind of difficult because the people who have the assigned duty to determine if something is classified or not, they're clueless. Um, they actually don't know what is and what is not classified, and they're unable to defend their position either or. So what they do is they just classify the entire thing. Um, was you know that when you hire someone to do a job, they're supposed to be qualified and proficient. Um, in this case, with Epstein file, you can see that it's not working. However, you want to explain it, if they're purposely hiding information or not, it's not working. So I had to declassify my career text book before. And in my career, we deal with geophysics. Chemistry is not a top secret document. But what happened is because my career field is classified, the career field is 9S100. 9S100, the career is not classified. The work that we do, some are classified, some are not classified. For example, the area I managed was Detachment 415 or Chiang Mai Seismic Research Station. That is not classified. It's called the IMS Monitoring Station, Primary Station 41. It's not classified. As a matter of fact, we legally cannot do any classified mission at that location. We have a contract with the Thai government that we're not gonna turn this into a spy ops or covert ops because it's supposed to be for research. Well, my boss violated that, but that's another story. But anyway, to understand this, you have to be able to read the law and regulations and then interpret them correctly to know that okay, this part is not classified. It's not classified. So when I declassify my textbooks, I had to go to 3 high-ranking security officials to say that, hey, look, we have a process to declassify this. We are qualified to declassify this. So then we should be able to declassify this. But they were really hesitant because they worry that we might make a mistake, etc. So anyway, we have 3 people who were all like NCO, which is the management to management and up. So we had NCO, and a very senior NCO sign off on this document. And the really sad thing is, it's just a bunch of physics and chemistry and biology books. We should not have to work so hard to remove the top secret from a basic textbook that you could find in college anywhere. The only bad thing that could come from that would be everyone realizing that we plagiarize books. So we just steal stuff on the anyway. I don't know if it's stealing, but we just write stuff that belong to other books and don't cite them. So in academic, you're supposed to cite where you get your information from if you were not the original source. But for our military textbook, we just plagiarize, just more convenient that way, I suppose. Well, anyway, the government is failing in many regard. You should assume that the government is failing in all regard. What hasn't fallen is your local agency. It's still working because right now, if you call 911, you could still get some sort of response. But from living in the US since 1990, there is a delay response, right? You call them that to report that someone broken in, etc. It might be 30 minutes before the police arrive. By then, there's really not a lot of things to prevent anymore. Correct. I live 5 minutes from the sheriff department now, and there will never be a time. There had never been a time, or there will never be a time when they will arrive within 5 minutes of me calling them that there's an emergency here. So that doesn't work in my opinion. Um, but they have their excuses. Now you have the federal government that is supposed to be doing a lot of complex work, and you might not understand. Either you meet the requirement or you don't, and that part is protecting the people and protecting the resources, and you could extrapolate into the welfare of the nation. But basically, are you protected? How have you been protected? Well, we have a certain amount of income. When I joined the military, they promised $1,000 a month, and then after 20 years, I'll get 70% of the last 3 years. Retirement, blah blah blah. I thought it was a good deal. Not great, but good. Now, I feel like I have been defrauded by the government because as I'm working toward this X amount of dollar, let's say $2,000. So I was thinking that if I work for government, when I retire, I have about $2,000 a month. And based on my understanding of the cost of living, I will be able to live off of that. But the problem is, they kept the literal interpretation of paying me that X amount, about $2,000 a month after I retire. But the whole time, they have been stealing from me by printing more money. So I thought I was getting 2,000, but actually I am not. It's like I'm getting $10 a month. So this is a type of fraud, but it's just more complex with legal protection. On the street, street laws are more simple. You don't just when you steal something from somebody, you don't get to rationalize this and come up with a complex terminology. You can't defend stealing people money with, "Hey, this is not stealing. I didn't put my hand in your pocket. This is quantitative easing." No, on the street they just punch you in the face for treating people like they're stupid. Right now, the U.S. is treating people like they're stupid, and what can anyone do about it? Well, the Epson file does something that is kind of good. The ridiculousness that I face personally is now up on the international stage, full on display. Uh, the Congress people, when they hear about my story, they would say, "You know what, Sergeant Pham's case, it's kind of bad, but it's just like a one-off event, an exception to how normal things work." Well, now the Epstein file proves that what I said was true. Since 2013, 2014, I warned the U.S. government from the lowest level, say Melbourne Police, my boss, my commander, all the way up to the DOD, to the commander in chief. Then back then it was Obama and Hillary Clinton. And then I sent it to the Senate committee. I sent it to various general and military organization. I sent it to Attorney Pam Bondi, who's the Attorney General for Florida at the time. Basically, I have notified every single layer and echelon of authority from the lowest to the highest. There's nothing I haven't done in terms of non-peaceful, what do you call, non-violent process. So the only option left is violence, right? So if I did everything that was peaceful to resolve the issue and it's not done, then what's left to do? Then there's violence. And because I could articulate this, I became what the FBI call dangerous. Am I plotting to kill people? Uh, if you look at me, do I look like a killer? Do I look like I might just go out and shoot random people for no reason? Well, you can't really use that as evidence against me, or use that as evidence to lock me up, or use that to accuse me as being dangerous. I'm perfectly reasonable, right? If someone harm me, I have the right to defend myself. And you see, Israel right now is being supported by the U.S. with massive amount of funding and weapons to defend themselves. So then, if this concept of self-defense actually is valid, then I also have a valid reason to defend myself. Correct? So if one day I commit a massive shooting, can they actually say that, hey, there's no reason for this? Is this senseless? How would it be senseless? Because for 10 years now, I have been telling the US government, like, look, you cannot do this. You should not do this. You should follow the law, because the law provide like I guess a medium for resolving injustice. And now that the law doesn't actually work, and if you look at the Epstein file, you cannot say that it's my personal opinion that it doesn't work. You have evidence now in front of you that say it doesn't work for you. You don't have to study my case. You just study your case. As parents with babies, with daughters, how is the government protecting your daughters? What happened to me could happen to your daughter. Okay. I share this with a lot of people. One time I shared this with a 90-year-old woman. I did nail salon for 2 years. So she told me that her daughter was 18 years lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force. Her commander grabbed her boobs and she filed a complaint. And she was the one that got removed from the Air Force and not her boss. My case, I filed a complaint against my boss for treason. He was sabotaging the mission using government money for his private, whatever, private purpose. Him and his cronies were rewarded. I was removed. So I was unhappy that I had to be the one that have to deal with the corrupt boss. But I had hoped and I had thought that if I raise this enough, that someone above them would have the integrity to do their job. But there is no one above that. So if you read like 1984, is it 1884? I think it's 1984 by George Orwell. It kind of tell the same trope where this guy saw that the news that we receive, that how we go out to fight the enemies outside the border were all fake. So he started reporting to his boss, but as he walked to his boss' office, he overheard that his boss was in on the whole conspiracy thing. So he ran off from his workplace and he tried to go up and up. The gist of the story is that no matter how high he go up, they were all in on the conspiracy. So there was nowhere to report to. So that's the case right now. And with the FBI releasing basically a report that all blank after the law say they must release it. They released it without releasing it. So this is like a 4-year-old response to a national security issues, national crisis issues that involve thousands and millions of people. And if you really understand the issue, it's not just 1,000 or 1 million people. This is about the entire 350 million people in the US. We have children, boys or girls, and we want to know that the people that wish them harm are not allowed to do that. This Epstein file is telling us that our government is not protecting us. Do you understand that? Our government that we created in 1776 was designed to protect us. But somehow, how to do this? Okay. Somehow in 2025, that government is not protecting us. It's protecting the enemy that is harming us. Do you understand this? There are very complex issues in government and national security, but there is a simple way that a simple person can measure if it's working or not working. Is it protecting the people? Is it harming the people? So right now, with the release of the Epstein file all blacked out, you know that your government is against you. Now, another layer is that it's not 350 million people in the US that is at harm here, that is at risk of being harmed here. You have 8 billion people around the world who are facing this threat, this harm, because it's not just American children that are harmed. It's children from any country, especially countries who lack the resources to stand up to the power of the US government, right? Let's say Romania, let's say Ukraine. How are they going to stand up to the empire? So then their children, like their daughter, will they be on the shopping cart for the Epstein clients? Or would they not? So the US is essentially making a national statement that we support and protect people who rape young children. How does this work in any professional and global government agency? It doesn't work. It's never supposed to work that way. It's not supposed that way. Right now, it's working that way, but it cannot continue to work that way. So all parents is going to start to do something. Okay, I might hire people outside the government to do something because my government is not doing it right. So then, how do I do it? I seek help from outside. Inside the government, you have different factions, and since they know the FBI doesn't do their job, so we have this FBI which is supposed to enforce the law to deal with foreign and domestics and protect the issues inside the U.S. border, and they're not. Instead of reporting to the U.S. government and the people, they report to a foreign agency, foreign power. So the military has some resources. The political class, the rich people, everyone's gonna have to look for their own way. So my own way would be continue to say what I can say. But I feel like the prophet Micah back in the day when he told the Jerusalem people that, hey, if you keep fucking around, we don't have a country left. Essentially, that's what I'm doing. I understand what I'm doing. I still have to do it. I don't know if that makes sense for anybody. For for the people who understand my pain, why do I know this doesn't work, but I still do it? It's not pessimistic. It's not optimistic. It's just the way things really are. There is a minute chance. I mean, this chance is smaller than winning the lottery. So I haven't done this every day for the past 10 years, but I'm doing this today because I have enough energy for to do today. US is failing. It had been failing. It failed in many ways. And then what can you do about it? Well, you have to do something based on what you can. You should not wait for the next guy. You should not wait for your neighbor. But I understand that education taught you that if you have an illegal, case, if you suspect a crime has been committed, you should report it to the authority. Well, this is kind of disowning personal responsibility. So you should see this as such. Anyone who tell you that, they just don't want to take responsibility. For example, my neighbor comes to me and told me that, hey, there's two people fighting and one of them just got stabbed, blah, blah, blah. I could tell them that, hey, if you suspect or you saw a crime, you should report it. Or I could go take out my phone and report it, or I could drive to the police station and report it. So, personal responsibility versus not personal responsibility. The entire country have fallen and dying because we lack personal responsibility. This is the very thing that is trained to every individual in the U.S. Air Force. This is in our training methodology. However, the moment we leave the classroom, we throw it out the window, calling it bullshit or irrelevant training. Well, in some contexts, they are right that they could get away with it. But in the long term, you cannot get away from the consequences of not having responsibility. In 1776, we have responsible American. They were responsible for themselves and their country, and they built one of the greatest empire on the planet. 2025, we have zero out of 350 million, the entire population of US. We essentially have zero people that are willing to do what the people in 1776 were willing to do. And we are at risk. We may or may not vanish. A lot of people say it's impossible, but I would think that that's stupid to say that it's not possible. Everything that we think, everything that's keeping us safe is essentially depending on a lot of things that keep us safe, like the government, the technology, the cohesion, the fact that we call each other American. All of that is vanishing or disintegrating. We should say it's disintegrating. So if I'm not American and my neighbor's not American and you are not American, what obligation and what duty do I have to you? Now, we add in, let's say, someone else from outside the US, like, hey, Khan, I have $100 million, like $150 million. Will you partner with me to do some work that will benefit you and me? Well, what is the trade-off between working with the offer versus protecting 350 million ungrateful idiots, right? So if Erica Kirk, sold out her husband and picked Israel over 350 American, is it a right choice? I think for her, she made the right choice. It's not really the right choice for me because, who's protecting me? Who's standing up for me? I sacrificed for this fucking country. What have it done for me? So then Erica Kirk takes $150 million from Israel to do what her husband refused. So that's what we saw or read in the news. We know that the Congress takes a lot of money from Israel, right? What is the trade-off? Working for the 350 million people who are ungrateful, who don't want to, show any gratitude, defend you when you need it, or protect you when you need it, versus someone who's giving you like a life-changing quantity of wealth. So then, once that becomes the norm, everyone is going to be selling a piece of the USA. Then what piece is left of it, right? And then once everyone is fighting over it, like a pack of wolves fighting over a rabbit. Let's say you have one rabbit or a big cow or big pig, like the USA. and you have like 12 or 20 wolves trying to tear into it. It's a nasty picture, right? They're gonna tear into it. They're not gonna sit around and hey, who's gonna raise this pig? Who's going to feed it? Who's gonna wash it? No, no, they're gonna dive in and take a big bite and shred it. And in that process, the USA will not be anything like we know today. Um, so right now, it's about personal responsibility. Everyone's gonna have to do what they can. You see all these billionaire people with so much money, and they telling the normal people, the poor people, the majority, the 90%, that hey, I can't do anything. The government should tax me more. I don't know. I forgot the guy's name already because I don't think he deserves to be remembered. But he's running for government or whatever president for the next term. And he's saying, I'm a billionaire and I think the government should tax people like me more. I'm like, fuck you. What's to stop you from using your money? Why should you wait for the government to tax you? I mean, he's kind of stupid for saying that. And a lot of people are stupid because they would actually not understand what just happened. Like he's saying nothing. So then now, this is why the US is failing. It's continuing to fail. And the threat is not just, going from first place in in the power spectrum to second place. Because the moment you go from first to second and third and fifth, you could vanish. If you study history, the history of Carthage, they went from first place empire to second place empire, and then some general are unwilling to accept that their countries are in decline, which is the same as the U.S. Some people will refuse to accept the fact that we're not as great as we were, or as we think, or as we want to think. So they want to do something about it. They flex the muscle. They try to topple the number one. 100% this is going to happen that way, and then war will break out. And then the other power is like, look, you're a violent person. I need to prevent you from causing violence tomorrow, so I'm going to dismember you. It was done to Germany, it was done to Japan, so why should it not be done to the USA? So the transition between now to being the next Germany or the next Japan is kind of far in ahead. We cannot visualize this that well. But if you look at the time when Germany was the top to when it was the bottom, it was not that long. I think maybe less than 10 years. Same thing with Japan. The rise takes decades and many, many decades, but the fall doesn't have to take that long. The fall could be very immediate and very quickly. Uh, we dismember Iraq in like 24 hours. So the US, in theory, could also, like, disappear in 24 hours. Like the USA that you recognize could disappear in 24 hours. The reason it is not is because there's a lot of restraint on our opponent and adversary. So if we take the view that Russia is our adversary, and I don't think they see it that way, but Americans see it that way. I work in the top secret environment. A lot of people see Russia as the boogeyman. A lot of them see China as the boogeyman. The diplomatic view that, hey, we are different government and we work together to protect our own people, I don't think that really exists anymore. Those might be the minority report in Washington. The rest of them are like power drunk. They think they could do anything and get away with it. And so they're going to view all of this as opponent, adversary. Why would they not nuke us? Well, because they don't really want to nuke us and we nuke them, and then it become really catastrophic. But then we are counting on our opponent to exercise restraint. This is a ridiculous strategy because if you want to rape me and expect me to not respond with deadly forces, is a ridiculous expectation. You cannot go around raping people and expect them to exercise restraint. Don't use violence. Violence. There's no excuse for violence. And then you rape someone's daughter and you expect the father to do nothing. That's not reasonable, right? Um, but this is the brain pattern, the thinking pattern, the strategic pattern of what's going on with the people who are assigned to run the country and to manage the relationship inside and outside the country. They just have very unreasonable expectation. They want people to believe there are laws and rules of law that everyone should follow while they don't follow them. Does that make sense? That doesn't work. If I'm a parent, I'm raising my child and I'm telling them to follow the law, but I'm always breaking the law, what is the outcome? Well, they understand that I'm only saying shit. I break the law. And they grow up, they might just say shit like, hey, the law is great, you should follow the law, but never really have any respect for it. And all of these people that are ruining the country, they were raised by parents. And most likely, their parents raised them this way. And they will likely raise their children this way. So the chain of irresponsibility is going to continue until someone with the courage and enough power to do something about it. And they have to do something about it because this government is not going to do something about it. You have witnessed what we can do. So you could continue to wait for the US government to do what it cannot do, or you could, take up your own responsibility and do what you can do. And that's the current issue. The US failing, and you. What can you do?